Okay, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone around the world. Welcome to Relatos del Mar, and this is the segment of Swimmers of the World interview. Today we have a special guest. We have Andy Donaldson here. He just completed a channel, an English channel cross, in a very impressive way. He swim in 8 hours, and also he is dedicated his swims to an interesting and heartwarming cause, which is mental health awareness. So that is why we want to bring attention to this topic and to this great swimmer that is taking time to put over the table this important subject. So welcome, Andy. Thank you very much for accepting this interview. How are you?
Hello, Rose, and yeah, thank you for having me on here. It's good to be here.
Great. Okay, so let's start. So, Andy, how do you start on swimming? How this happened to you?
So I started swimming from a young age. Funnily enough, in Spain, um, we would go to Spain quite often on family holidays. I grew up in Scotland, and the rest of my family are all fitness freaks, and they love sport, and they're very active, and they would always go swimming out in the ocean, and I would get left behind because I couldn't swim. So, which was the motivation for getting into swimming.
So, at the age of
Oh gosh, when I was still in a pram, so I'm not too sure. Maybe.
maybe 7 or 6 or 8.
Well, I learned maybe at age 4 or 5, but then got into competitive swimming when I was 7. So I went back to Scotland. I have an older sister and cousin. They were both swimmers, and I followed them into the sport and joined my local club at age 7.
That's interesting. And in what club or in what group did you start swimming?
It was a small club in the west of Scotland called North Ayrshire Swimming Club, and yeah, it was a great place to learn to swim, and to own my skills. The coaches there really um, put focus on developing technique, which I think is all too important in swimming, rather than just thrashing us up and down the pool.
That's true. That's true. And we're going to talk about in a bit more detail in a moment. Okay, Andy. So let's talk about a little your open water swimming career. Where and when and how did you start swimming in open water? When did you do this jump from the pool that we normally start swimmers start on the pool and then they jump to the ocean and then eventually start getting in distances and more distances. So how was that for you?
So I was a pool swimmer in Scotland. Not many people swam in the open water in the ocean there because it's very cold, and it wasn't very popular. So most of my childhood and early adulthood was in pool racing, and I was a middle distance swimmer, 200 meters backstroke, 200 meters freestyle, and after finishing university in England, I studied at Loughborough University. Um, I moved across to Australia for a fresh start and a change of scene, and that's where I learned. That's when I got into open water. We were surrounded by all these people um, swimming in the ocean, and it's such a big part of the culture there. And they have a lot of very good open water swimmers, and I just got swept up in that, and there was great people in the club that I was in, who raced open water. They were swimming all over the world, and I was getting to a stage where I'd almost plateaued in pro swimming and pro racing. I'd got down to sort of 151 for a 200 freestyle, and I just couldn't get underneath that 150 barrier for the 200 freestyle long course. And after an injury to my shoulder, I was a bit disheartened by that and tried to, wasn't quite sure what to do next. And together with my coach, he suggested that I try something different, and that's when I got into open water. So this would have been maybe about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. 8 years ago, and then just in that moment, you start your open water swimming career. And for an advice of your coach, maybe to get some different environment to swim due to an injury that you had at the moment.
Yeah, I'd swam pool swimming all my life, and my goal was to try get onto the Commonwealth Games team for Scotland in the 4x200 meter freestyle. And I suffered an injury just before the qualifying competition, and didn't quite race as well as planned. And I was considering what to do. Should I continue in the sport or try something different? And so my coach encouraged me to try open water, and it was a fresh start and doing something different, and it was very liberating. You get to swim outdoors in some really fantastic locations, beautiful water, and for me, there wasn't as much pressure. You're not trying to achieve times. You're just in there and enjoying it and racing. It doesn't matter how fast it is. It's just about trying to beat the other people in the race, if that's what you're doing, or you can just swim in the ocean with friends, and it's really quite wonderful.
That is great. That is true. And yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, sometimes we forget about the pressure of swimming or to win or to be competitive when we are in open water, right? Just we
Mm.
get some kind of distraction or relax from the landscapes, from the beauty of the
Mm.
sea or the lake or the lagoon, wherever open water we're swimming into, and that helps us, right? Keep
Yeah,
doing.
definitely. I completely agree. I think it's um, you know in today's world where we're always go 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 and working a lot, and you're always connected, receiving emails and your phone. Um, it's quite nice to go somewhere where you don't have all of that, and you can't plug your music in and listen. You're just out there with the elements, which is really nice, and it's an opportunity to switch off.
That's true. And also when we swim in cool water, maybe it can help to recover from an injury, right? Because cool water sometimes helps to get better from an injury.
Yeah,
That's
that's right. It's got so many benefits to it, and not just for the body, but I think for the mind too. Um, there's all sorts of studies into it at the moment, and yeah, I just fell in love with it. And my coach, we had a really good group at Perth City Swimming Club, so in Australia West. Um, and my coach encouraged me. He said, you know, would you ever consider trying to train towards the Olympics in the 10K, the 10 kilometer event? And I hadn't really considered that, but he said, um, the GB team, the British team's already, they already have their swimmers selected, but um, would you consider racing for Indonesia? Because my mother is Indonesian, so I'm half British, half Indonesian, and there might have been an opportunity to try qualify that way. And so that was something that we explored, and up to the Rio Olympic Games in 2016, I really tried to make a push for that. I went across to Indonesia, raced at their national championships, and came away with quite a number of gold medals. And it looked like a possibility, but unfortunately, it never came through, and I never got that chance to go to the qualifying event and race on behalf of Indonesia. And I thought, you know what, I'm age 25. I probably need to start focusing on life outside of swimming in my career. So I actually quit from the sport in 2016.
Mm, interesting. Okay, Andy, let's move to our next item, which is swim for a cause. Um, a cause you support that is mental health importance awareness, and especially the Black Dog Institute, right? So, well, personally, I think that open water swimming is an sport that is not easy to practice. First, you need to learn to swim, the technique. Also, you need to support the temperature of the water, and also we have the condition of the sea and uh, the marine animals that we have.
Mm.
So this is challenging, right? Just start swimming open water and see that is a challenge. But just that ability that we, in some point of our lives, have gained to support a cause, for me, it's like go beyond to our personal achievements or our personal, uh, um, um, medals or something that we want to achieve personally, but to open that for a broader um, cause, for a broader reason. In this case, mental health is for me an important topic worldwide that we should all and always care about.
Mm.
So it's something that we cannot touch. No, when we get hypothermia, you go with your thermometer and then you see that it's low than 32
Mm.
degrees Celsius, and then you say that is hypothermia definitely. But how we can diagnose mental health disease? We don't have that kind
Mm.
of devices to
Yeah.
scan a person and say this person has this mental disease and this needs go under treatment, or this person is going to go in an emergency mental health, and we need to get assistance
Mm.
urgently. So we don't have that.
Mm.
So start talking about this is just and one step, maybe the most important, and for me, that you choose that the cause for your swims is amazing. So let's talk
Mm.
about a little bit of this.
Well, firstly, estoy de acuerdo everything that you said. Yeah, I agree. It's very difficult to know if someone's struggling. Often the people that are having mental issues don't speak up. So, like you say, it's hard to discern um, when it's happening. And the reason some of the reasons I wanted to support mental health. I mean, I have known quite a number of people that have struggled from it, who've had their struggles with mental health and depression, and I've even had struggles myself. So when I was saying before in 2016, when I quit swimming, I focused a lot on my job and threw myself into my work, and I wasn't balancing life. Working really long hours and studying when I got home, and yeah, it's I think it can happen to anyone, and especially with the last couple of years with COVID, I think
Mhm.
everyone's been tested. So um, I actually in 2019 I quit my job and went traveling. I actually went to South America and tried to learn Spanish, which is which I can practice it. I can try it, but it's not great. Yo olvido mi español porque No práctica, no practico mucho más.
But you speak. Tú hablas español, which is enough. It's no, it's not common to know people that is
Hmm.
native English native that also talk a little Spanish even. So that's great.
Um, and during the coronavirus, I was in Perth and I got back into swimming. That was one of the things that we could do during the lockdown. We could go down to the beach and swim, and I found swimming in the open water to be a really great way to. It just really impacted me and improved my not just my well-being but my mental health as well. And it was a great way to access community, and these are all really important things. I think that people need nowadays when they have their busy lives. And uh, together with one of my friends, we wanted to try and encourage more people to get into swimming, more adults. Like you said, it's how do you get into open water swimming? Like many people can swim, but it's different swimming in the open water. There's no lane ropes. There's no black line on the bottom, and you could be encounter sea life, or there's waves and tides and currents. So we wanted to try teach people the skills so that they could swim in the open water, not necessarily to race, but
Hmm.
just to give them that opportunity to to be able to do it. And if they want, they can take it to the next step and enter an open water swim, or um, do a triathlon. All these, it opens up a lot of doors. And it might just be simple, like being able to swim with your kids at the beach. So we started doing that, and I started getting into swimming a bit more, and that ultimately led me into to get quite fast again in the water. And I thought, you know what, maybe this has really helped me, and open water has really helped me again, and with my mental well-being. um, I'd like to raise some money for a local mental health charity, and enter a swimming race and use that as the platform to try raise money. And so in Perth, Western Australia, there's a big open water race every year called the Rottnest Channel Swim. Um, every year in February, around 1,000 swimmers do it. They can do it either solo, as a duo, or in a team of four. And it's around 20 kilometres from the mainland to an island off the coast of Perth. And so I said to my friend Martin, you know, I'd love to enter it, and to try win it, and to raise money for mental health. And that really kick-started me down this path of getting back into swimming.
It's it's a nice story. It's a nice you know uh, it's in Spanish is relato. um, you know, it's difficult to get mental health, um, medical mental health help, attention. If we want to go to a therapist, it costs it, and it's not cheap.
Mm,
It's higher. Well, here in Peru, our system, medical system is it's not so good. So
mm,
we want to first, if we get off, you know, paradigms that it says that mental health is something that does not exist. First, if we break those wrong paradigms, and then
mm,
if we want to look for help, we need to have money. Because if we don't have money, even if we want to, we don't we were not able to afford that kind of
mm,
support. So that the fact that you joined to this institute and also to get money or get donations, it's also wonderful because with this effort, with this support, it means that people that don't have money to pay their own treatments
Mm.
may have access to that, and that means to save lives eventually. So it's not a teeny thing; it's a big thing what you are doing,
Mm.
and I think that this is something good to remark.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's more for me. It's like even more impressive that your 8 hours sleep. Yeah, because it's the cause that is behind that, and also that is what is maybe is pushing you to do this, right? Because sometimes we don't have like destiny for what we're doing or a reason, but when we have a power reason, sometimes we do things that we never imagined.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with that, and that's something I was going to talk about. You've already beaten me to it. I think so. Um, yeah, I think it's not easily accessible to. Sometimes it's not easy to access support, particularly for mental health, and I think that was something I was hoping to do with these swims was to um, raise awareness that things like open water swimming are available and accessible to most people. And there, it can be really helpful for mental health, and you can access good community, which I think is so important and helps with that mental health and life balance too. So, um, yeah, that they were kind of they were the messages I wanted to share, and this Rottnest Channel Swim. Um, I wanted to try win the race. I mean, obviously, I had my personal goals, but this was something bigger than just me, and to try and do it to send this powerful message. And so this was with I'd been retired from swimming for a long time, like a number of years, and the Rottnest Channel Swim was in February 2021. Um, they had a really strong field entered that year. There was guys on the Australian national team, the previous podium swimmers from last year, and so it was going to be very difficult to try and beat these people, not just because of the strength of their abilities, but also because I hadn't been swimming for 2 years, and I'd been partying a bit too much in South America and Central America. So, but I got back into training, and together with my coach, he had said that it's not going to be easy, but it's doable with the right training. If we take a smart approach, we might be able to just pull this off. And uh, on Saturday, 20th of February, 2021. Um, yeah, I managed to win the Rottnest Channel Swim and almost broke the record in the process. And the weather wasn't great, so it was some near miracle that we'd almost pulled that off. And I came in about 7 minutes ahead of the next finisher, which is quite a big margin in a 20-kilometer race.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This is something impressive. Not easy to do.
No,
It's
I think I agree with you though that when you're doing it for something bigger, we were swimming for mental health. Um, it gives you purpose, and you can do things that you didn't think were possible.
yeah, that's true. And well, for that, congratulations. It's really a good time to talking to you about this subject. For me, it's something really important, and I'm glad that we can talk today. Okay,
Mm.
so let's move to our next topic. Our next point in our agenda: how Andy did get prepared for the English Channel. Any special diet, quantity of kilometers per week, physical preparation, coldest temperature preparation, anything that you want to share us regarding this question marks.
Sure. So, well, after the Rottnest Channel swim, I thought I'd like to keep doing this and to try and continue to use my swimming to raise money for mental health. And growing up in the UK, my mind instantly went to the English Channel, and for me, that's the holy grail of channel swimming. It's the Everest of channel swimming, and so that's what led into this. And so I suppose that you know my what my coach and I had discussed was that uh, we wanted to ensure that this journey was still enjoyable and fun. Um, and for me, we both didn't want to overtrain, so we focused on quality training rather than um, doing lots and lots of mileage. So that looked like 5 2 hour pool swims a week. So mostly around 6 to 7 kilometers per session. So what's that, 30 kilometers a week? A couple of gym sessions, and then some swims in the river in Perth to help acclimatise to the cold water. So the river was around sort of 15 or 16 degrees, which would be perfect for practicing for the English Channel. Obviously, with Australia being in the southern hemisphere, winter in Australia is the same time as the British summer. So it was a great opportunity to acclimatise to the cold. And yeah, my qualifier was done in a lake that was 13 degrees, which is colder than I would have liked, but it was great to do it because it gave that confidence that you could survive for 6 hours in cold water.
6 hours,
Yes,
13 degrees, right?
13 degrees. So for the English Channel, they have a qualifying standard that you have to do 6 hours in temperatures of below 16 degrees. And on the day that I did mine, it was down at 13 degrees, and in some places 12. So it was it was challenging, and I might be Scottish, but I'm also Indonesian, and I don't like the cold. So
So half and a half.
well, yeah,
Indonesia is not cool, right? Indonesia is warm.
it's it's tropical. It's on the equator.
Ah, okay. Yep.
So I have some warm blood in me.
That's yeah, that definitely that was a challenge, a very challenge effort. Just go under 12 degrees Celsius in 6 hours. Yeah, that's definitely something difficult to do, difficult to achieve. Well, I swam in water in the Titicaca Lake. It would be the coldest part of the world that I ever swam.
Mhm.
I didn't have the chance to measure the temperature. I didn't have the equipment at that moment, but it was very freezing. Just seconds, the cool um, jump into my legs and easily go into my stomach, and
Mm,
from my arms go to my shoulder and easily go to the neck. That's something that I never experienced before.
mm, mm,
When I swim here in Lima, Peru, we have an ocean that is the coolest one. It could be 13.9. Well, 12 in 12.5 in the worst winter uh,
mm,
ep- season that we have. But less than that, no. And in the Titicaca Lake, yes. So the in that quantity of hours, 6 hours, because
yeah.
in the Titicaca Lake I only can swim like 6 minutes, and then I have to go to the shore because otherwise it's going to become a cubito. a cube,
Yeah.
an ice cube. So I still need things to do. I still need to leave.
Yeah,
Not-
I
but
hear you. It's challenging and it takes your breath away. Um, but I do think and I do believe with practice, it does become a lot easier. And I'm someone that used to hate cold water swimming, and you can get used to it quite quickly. I think. I think
Mhm,
with practice and consistent practice, you can.
mhm. Yeah. So I will keep trying.
Keep trying, Rose.
Yeah, no, that's all. That's my experience of cool water. Well, I like also cool water, but not I didn't swim for so long time.
Hmm.
1 hour and a half or two maybe, but not so long. But I'm going to see and let you know if I go further from that. Okay, so let's move to our next question. The 8 hours were ever in any plan for Andy, meaning you in some point you says, okay, I'm going to swim this kind of faster with this strategy. I'm going to do 8 hours, or just you start swimming and let's what happened. It doesn't matter.
Um, the plan was it's an interesting one. The English Channel, we were aware that every day is different. The conditions, there's so many different factors that contribute to a good like a fast time that are outside of your control. You could get some bad weather, very strong tides, and you know the water could be really cold. So it was very tough to target a time. Um, that being said, what we did in training it was we trained to hold certain paces. So for me, um, I wanted to be able to hold 5 kilometers an hour very comfortably. That was my goal pace. So over 100 meters, that translates to 112, 1 minute 12 seconds per 100 meters, and being able to hold that consistently for 5, 6, 7 hours. So that's what I had trained to do with my coach. And so we knew that if we had the perfect day, we probably could have gone even quicker than 8 hours. We got a very good day. Um, the tides were still very strong, and that certainly did affect us, particularly on the French side. But our goal was to really just make the most of the conditions we were given, because that's something completely out of our control.
Okay, so the weather helps in the 8 hours somehow.
Massively. We had a very calm day. The water was still, the sun was up. There was low winds, um, and yeah, the tide was still relatively quite good. It wasn't perfect, but it provided us with an opportunity to take quite a direct line across the English Channel, which I don't know if you have any of the tracking maps that people have for the English Channel, but mostly it's a big S bend, and yeah, that was my
Yeah,
tracker.
I'm trying to share your track, which is especially straight. Normally, English channel is an S and a very, an S, well, very S. So your sim is like almost something strange, because when I talk with friends about English channel swimmers and not swimmers, I explain, if you can go from one side to the other very strange, it could be like how many kilometers? 36,
Uh, 33 is the direct.
33. But
If
you
you go,
never do that, right? You always never can swim like that. You have to prepare for a
yes,
50-kilometer swim, because of the current, you're going to be like this, wee, and
hmm
then wee. Also, it's out of your control, and you just keep swimming if you want to go to the other shore. But your swim, it's especially almost the dream swim. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that
we
is
were very
something.
happy with it. You know, we we just focused on what we could control, and for me that was what kind of pace I could hold and the preparation I could do in the lead up to the swim. So outside of that, it's all outside of our control.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. Okay, so I also want to see if I can share a part that also it's something impressive and remarkable, I guess. Mm, let me see if I can find you. Okay, I'm going to look for that. Okay, so about the coolest temperature, you say the river helps you, right?
Yeah, we had been practicing in the river, which was maybe 15 degrees, and then in England, I think the temperature was 17, so it was very warm in comparison.
Hmm. And about your, you know, diet, did you change something in your diet? Did you include something in your diet that helps or prepares for the English channel? Let's say I'm going to include this because the English channel is going to be ahead of me, and this is going to give you some kind of power, something like that. No.
Yeah, so over the past few months, I have been trying to gain some weight just to help with managing the cold water. So I think I'm at my heaviest ever, which is 88 kilograms. I'm still quite. I think I'm still quite skinny compared to most people. Or well, in my own opinion, but you know, I I think there's a balance. I think I don't think you necessarily need to put on too much weight for anyone that does want to do it or is nervous about doing that. I think with the cold water practice, that's probably a better method, in my opinion. But also, it can act as an extra energy source. So I've been working with a nutritionist to approach the English Channel, and she provided some really good advice and things to try eat in the lead up to the swim. So 5 days of carb loading and then easing off in the day or two before, just to let the gut to let your gut rest. Um, and then yeah, on the day it was mostly liquid.
Liquid. Okay, that's something that I will need to introduce in my diet. Okay, so jump to the next section, the next part. If you can divide in three phases your English channel swim, what they could be?
Uh, so this is quite an interesting question. I think a lot of people have different approaches here. I didn't know too much coming into the English Channel, so I asked for a lot of advice. And some people would say that they would split the channel into the different shipping lanes. You've got the English shipping lane, you've got the buffer between the two, and then you've got the French shipping lane. I think there's five in total, from memory. Um, I suppose for us, because we were taking a very direct route, um, we split it up into the phases of the tides. So you've got the flood tide, which takes swimmers, you know, up to the northeast, and then you've got the slack, which is where the tide turns and the water movement isn't as much, and then you have the ebb tide, which takes swimmers, southwest, and that can be the really dangerous one if people don't get it right and they can miss the French coast. And if they do that, it could potentially add quite a lot of time um, onto your swim, and you have to cover more distance and more ground to get back to the shore. And so for us, our plan was really just to. The advice I'd been given was to just hold a consistent pace right throughout. Don't save any in the tank for later. Um, Almost swim at your peak or the red line before it's costing too much, so your max threshold, and do that for as long as you can. Which sounds like very basic advice, but I,
That
I
is to
think
do.
I think it had merit though, and it worked. I think it worked to an extent. I personally got a bit caught out with the strength of the tide on the French side, but that was a good lesson learned, and probably taught me that I have some more work to do in the pool and for my next channel swim.
Hmm, that's great. And also, let me share something that also, not sure if many, but some people at least um, probably have seen about your fast fast feet.
That's Tim Benyer from Red Bull Swimming,
Yes.
and so they would show this feed sign to give me notice that you're about to feed, and then
So let's
you
look
know,
at this. How did you manage to do that? And also, did you do that in every, let's say, in Spanish is habituallamiento. In English, I don't know, feed time or something.
feed time, yeah,
But
that's right. So it was feed time for us every 20 minutes, which is very frequent compared to many. So the rationale for that, you know, the we were the pace held was quite intense, and so the body needed the fuel and to be hydrated. We couldn't risk being dehydrated, otherwise there's a real risk of you know crashing in the second half of the swim. So the way I see it, the when you do your carb loading in the week running up to the swim, you're preparing for the first half of the swim, and then the feeds that you're taking on, for example, here, they are setting you up for the second half of the swim.
mhm. Okay, everything was liquid food.
Yeah, it was all liquids for me. So again, everyone has their own approach to this.
Hmm.
My my belief and my understanding is that we've done all the carb loading in the week up to the swim.
Hmm.
You've got the glycogen stored in the muscles, and on the day, I just want things that are easily digestible or pass through the gut and into the bloodstream and into the system,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is why liquids are my preference. And you know, it's not something solid like a sandwich of bananas or whatever it is, because that can be quite hard on the gut, and it takes time to chew,
Yes.
to digest. And for something like the English Channel, where uh, the tides are particularly strong or the currents are strong, um, you don't really want to be sitting stationary for too long, because
Yes.
you might get swept back a couple hundred meters during that time. And so quick feeds, fast feeds were really critical for us in that channel swim.
Yeah, that's impressive. And also, yes, if you well, if you- but you still keep swimming backwards, right? So you
Mm.
technically you do not stop during the fit period.
No, and I think that's quite an important thing. That you don't want to be stopping too much. You
Hmm.
lose momentum. Your muscles might get cold, even if you stop for
Hmm.
10, 15
Hmm.
seconds. It will have an impact. So just keeping moving, and the backstroke helps with you're doing something different and moving different muscles. Um, and yeah, there's about 200 milliliters of liquid in the bottle. So um, for me, I can get that down in one or two gulps, which is good. And it's something I've practiced in training before and in races.
Yes, yes, well, this is something not common to see, and it's very, impressive also, and it's something uh, like planet or a strategic way to took your feet time in. So yeah, and well, the reasons that you have explained it
Mm.
support that way of feeding, and that's very nice. So I wanted also to comment or to take a time to show that. But yeah, some well, we when and it's true when we go open water and we do that without neopreno, and I know prene, I don't know how to do that in
Brain, yep.
English, but yeah,
Hmm.
that um you lose your worm, and you need to take your food, also to swim, to get the energy to swim, but also to get warmer. So yeah, so I think that's a pretty important part, and also for swimmers that not necessarily are going to do the channel, English channel, but also the ones that are starting swimming and sometimes do not take their food or their beverage or their liquid, and also are not feeling good or well during the training. So this is something important to consider. Um, your food, if you are swimming in longer distances, more than and longer distances can be 2 hours or
Mm.
3 hours, not necessarily 8 hours or 10 hours, but um, the time where your body consume the energy, and then
Mm.
you need to refill that. That's the moment. So it can happen in half hour, 40 minutes,
Mm.
1 hour, depend of any person. But this is something important. So a part of the impressive way you are doing this, also it's a good remark or recall for all open water swimmers that don't forget about your habituallamiento or time food in the ocean. Okay, okay, so let's move to our next point here, about the dangers, because when we go open water, okay, we don't know what is going to happen. It could be a jellyfish. It could be, I don't know, anything, anything, and even the other part that doesn't have to do with the marine life, the pollution, a
Mm.
plastic or something that is not that doesn't belong to the sea, to the ocean, that is there, and sometimes that scary more than a jellyfish. Well, I don't know, but yeah, sometimes that may happen. So, did you see something during your swim? I don't know, anything.
It's unfortunately no, I didn't see much.
The-
It's an excellent question, and look, what I will say is that we are swimming in open water, so we're not in a controlled environment. We're not in a swimming pool. There is sea life. There are things that are unexpected, um, and that comes with the territory. That's something that you need to be prepared for. And the way I see it, um, it's not something that you should try your best not to worry about it because it's outside of your control. Like I did see jellyfish during the swim, but I didn't get stung once, which I think is a small miracle because I don't like jellyfish. But yeah, like you can spend all this time worrying, and when you do that, you burn energy needlessly, and so where possible, try not to worry. And if you do encounter something like try not let it derail your swim or rattle you, because um, it's almost expected. I've swam races in the dark and swam into things. I did one in Tasmania, which was down a river. Uh, I couldn't see anything. It was 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m., and I'd be swimming along, and then I'd be slapped
Something.
slapped in the face by a salmon. So it was,
Someone.
these things happen, and it's part of ocean swimming.
Mhm,
At the time, it can be quite terrifying, but I think afterwards you can look back and just laugh and just look back at it with see the funny side of it.
yeah, that's true. Okay, so don't get scary for anything in the marine life, please. Okay, what about the crucial moment of your swim in the English Channel? Any moment that you consider crucial? Um, I don't know, something
Yeah,
that.
I think, funnily enough, I think the most challenging thing about the English Channel is everything in the lead up to the English Channel. I think because you don't know the date that you're swimming,
Mhm,
it can be quite mentally challenging in that period of time before the swim, when you don't know what will happen with the weather, you don't know what the conditions are, you don't necessarily know what day you're swimming, and you might not even get to swim in your window at all.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I think
Some,
I think it's crucial to try stay as relaxed as possible during that time, and that's very easily said and not easily done.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes. A lot of uncertainty, right? During
there's,
this.
there's uncertainty, yeah, and
Mhm,
um, you know, managing your emotions is key. Um, for example, my friend, she got a phone call, I think 3 hours before her swim, that she
mhm.
was going, and so you can be the notice before the swim can be very last minute. So you just need to be ready. We had all of our equipment prepared and at the door, so that if we were called to swim, we could pick up our bags and go into the car. It was we didn't want to have to think or do any preparation. You know, everything was done. We were relaxed, but we were also ready to go. And so I think that's a crucial moment of anybody's English Channel swim.
Mhm.
For me, during the swim, everything was fairly controlled and going to plan. So through the 2 hour mark, we had covered 10 kilometers, which was going to plan. That was my 5 kilometers an hour. And then at the 4 hour mark, my team were communicating to me. They were writing messages on a whiteboard, and at the 4 hour mark, they communicated the distance, and it was only 18.5 kilometers. And so that was a crucial moment for me, because I didn't feel like I had slowed down. I was holding the same stroke rate. I was holding what I believed to be the same pace as the previous 2 hours. Yet I had covered far less distance over that 2 hour period of time. And so in that moment, it would have been very easy to panic and to spiral down and to start worrying, and because things aren't going to plan. And so for me, I just had to stay very relaxed and composed, and just reaffirm to myself that it's okay. This is um, be positive. Maybe we'll get some assistance in the second half of the swim to help bring us to France quicker. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But yeah, these can be very make or break moments. And at the 6 hour mark, you know, I was starting to fatigue, and we're not too far from France at this point in time. And the whiteboard comes down with a message, and it's telling me to speed up, to lift the pace. And again, that could have been very difficult, and it could have been a moment where I panicked because I was very tired at that point, and I felt like I was almost running on fumes or running out of gas, and to be told that you need to go faster is it was quite tough in that moment. But again, I just tried to stay relaxed and composed, and you know I think positive self talk is key in those moments.
That's pretty nice to hear that about the crucial momentum because well, I didn't heard something like that from previous interviews, but you have told us something that sometimes is not usually told. That is the pressure that the swimmers that have to do a channel swim goes under, and that sometimes is hidden because you know it's more important how fast you are going to swim, the challenge itself, but there's also fears, and also there's also pressure, there's also uncertainty, and also that can be something crucial for the swim. So yeah, thanks for sharing us. That's very nice. And also I think that this can help someone that is not going, not necessarily do a channel swim, but any competition or any swim, to try to keep relaxed, positive, mental positive, and try to do the best to go to the to the competition or to the race. So
Mm.
that's that's very good. And about your family and team, because what you can tell us, because you mentioned that your coach was the person who suggested you to go towards open water swimming when you stop in some period of your swimming time, and then you come back. But this part of your team, I think it's very important. The one that supports you and gives you the advice, some medical, sometimes attention, or even during your fit period, and all the support that a swimmer may need, because it's not only the swim itself, but it's very large sometimes group of people that support the swimmer.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know, for anyone that wants to do these types of swims, the first thing I usually tell them that is that it's not a solo swim. It's a team. You can't do these things alone. And the first thing I always recommend is to try create a really strong team and support network around you, because um, you're only as strong as yourself, and when you have all these other people around you who can support you and help you when you're down or going through tough times, it really makes a difference. And for me, my coach at Perth City Swimming Club, Owen Carroll, he's been fantastic in getting me out of retirement and into the shape I'm in, and swimming the times that I can. He knows me well. He knows how to motivate me. He knows how I'm wired and what drives me, and we work really well together, which I think is so important, that you trust your coach and the advice that they give you, and the coaching that they give you, because you don't want to be second um, guessing these things on a day. So right here we have a picture this was everyone that was on the boat. So you saw Tim Denyer there, who was doing the feeds. That's the man in the bottom right. And we didn't know too much about the English Channel before doing it, and working with the likes of Tim. I think everyone should seek advice. I don't think you never know everything, and there's always different points of view, and I think it's important to ask for advice and to hear what everyone has to say, and then you're equipped to make an informed decision of how you want to swim something or how you want to prepare for a race or a channel crossing. And for us, Tim Denyer was really just incredible out there and helping us towards our goal. There's the skippers there, Sean and Steve. Sean and Stuart, and these guys have been taking swimmers across for decades across the English Channel, and again, they were just truly amazing. They understood our goal to try, swim as possible, quick as possible, and they were just fantastic out there in the day. And I think it's again, these guys, the skippers know the water the best, so you should be, well, in my opinion, I think swimmers should be taking their advice and relying on their knowledge, because they know the water best. And we can do all the reading that we want on the internet, but these are the people that are actually out there taking swimmers across the channel. So that's the reason why they're there, and this is what they do. So let them do what they do best. And it's not something that you should really need to worry about, because you're in safe hands, and you should be able to trust what they're responsible for.
That's also good advice, and maybe that also is going to answer our next question, which is about the advices for aspirants or for dreamers, for swimmers that dreams to swim the English Channel. So maybe one advice already you have given, right? To look
Yeah,
for.
so I'd say the first piece of advice there is, remember it's a team event. There's a lot of people contributing to the success, so seek advice. Train with a squad, because it's a lot easier when you have other people on the journey with you, and you're not alone. And when you're going through those tougher days, there are people around who understand what you're doing and can encourage you when you have doubts or any bad days. And it's also better having more people on that journey with you, because when you do come to succeed, more people have been part of that success, and you have more people to celebrate with at the finish, which is really rewarding.
That's nice. That's warm.
So number two, I think, again, we probably come back to it a little bit, but be patient when you're in Dover. It's very easy to get quite nervous and needlessly burn energy. So just being prepared, accept that many things are outside of your control, and also just enjoy the experience, because not everybody gets to go to Dover and swim the English Channel. That was something that Tim Denyer, just before I started my channel swim, and before we left on the boat, he pulled me aside and just said, remember, this is a privilege, Andy. Not everyone gets to do this. Some people, they live in war-torn countries and can't come to here and do this, and we have the means and the accessibility to come here and do this. So don't take this for granted. Enjoy it, and remember when you touch down on that French soil, take in that moment, because it's a moment that will sit with you for life.
Yeah, that's also nice.
So yeah, that would be point number two. And then again, I think we've already touched on this, but point number three, I'd say is I think it's good to swim for a purpose. So
Mhm.
we swam for the Black Dog Institute there, and um, you see it quite often. When um, you see the marathon runners, and they're running for a loved one, or for their child, or for a charity, and when everything's hurting, they manage to find an extra gear to keep going. Or if you watch at the Olympics and you have the swimmers that have been racing all through the um, through all of the meet, and then on the last day they have relays, and they get up and they can find a one, like, they can squeeze out one more race for their country. I think it's good when you are racing for something bigger than yourself, and um, you know during those tough times you somehow find a way through, because there's purpose behind what you're doing.
Great, great, Andy. Great pieces of advice. I think this will help any swimmer that has the intent to swim the English Channel. Great. And also, well, not necessarily the English Channel, but something that consider bigger to swim.
Mm,
10K, 5K, 12K, anything that consider very challenging, that is going to take off your comfort zone,
mm.
and maybe that also will help to go through this successfully, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's it.
okay, thanks. And any favorite quote that you would like to share with us, and why you would choose that quote?
So it's not really. I don't have a quote per se, but I have some advice that was given to me when I was a bit younger, and it was by an older swimmer on the Scotland team who
Yes.
he pulled me aside one day, and he just said, Andy, hard work will always get you somewhere, but smart work will always get you further. And I didn't really appreciate that at the time, but it's something that stuck with me, and is essentially the motto that myself and my coach Owen have been shaping our swimming training and program around. That um, you we want to try train in a smart manner and continue to enjoy swimming, rather than just doing hard yards and thrashing up and down the pool. We want to be focusing on things that will, the one percenters, in technique and good nutrition and good recovery, and training those paces that we want to hold. And so I think that encapsulates all of that, and just being generally trying to approach things better, um, rather than just going with your instincts, and trying to swim 100 kilometers a week. Um, I don't really do many sessions that are more than 2 hours. Every now and again, I will, and I think that they do have a time and place, especially if you feel that it will help bring confidence. So, for example, that 6 hour qualifier, that was really good for building confidence, that I could swim in something that was really cold water, but at the same time, it will have a cost, um, in that I might not be able to recover as quickly, or it might have an impact on the next few weeks of training. So, trying to get that balance right and trying to train smart, I think,
Mhm.
is something that is worth considering, especially as you start to get older, like
Yeah,
yourself.
like us, like us. Yeah, that's well, and I think it's a very, as you said, it's not a quote per se, but it can become a quote. It's
Mm,
work smarter rather than harder. because sometimes we forget
Mm.
or tend to jump or omit the flavor of the trainings or whatever we're
Mm.
doing, and we forgot to enjoy the moment, that today, what we're
Mm.
doing. And I think that's something that we can think about. And yeah, I like your quote. I'm going to become that a quote. Yeah, that's great. And let's keep well to our next question. What are your plans for open water? Any project that you want to share? I think you mentioned something about continuing the Seven Ocean journey, right? But let's explain a little bit more.
Right. So yeah, when I'll rewind the clock a little bit. So after finishing Rottnest, um, we'd raised $9,000 for a mental health charity, 9,000 Australian dollars, and so I thought, you know what, maybe I'd like to do this on a global scale, and yeah, just whilst I'm still quite fit and able to do this, and so um, when I was researching about the English Channel, I started reading up about the Ocean Seven, and I saw that as the perfect platform to do this. You know, it's a global challenge. It gets to combine, you know, swimming all around the world, so gets to combine traveling as well, and it would be a great platform for sharing powerful messages on mental health through swimming and through sport. And so that's really what I'm trying to do. And you know, the English Channel was the first of the seven, and you know, I would love to really try do all seven in the space of a year, and to use that challenge to bring awareness to mental health. Um, I don't know if it can be done. I know there's quite a few swims out there that have quite long waiting lists, but I'll
Yeah.
try my best. And you know, if there's a if it's possible, then you know I'll be there and I'll do it. So I've got quite a few of them booked in, and yeah, I'll just at the end of the day, I'll just try my best, and hopefully some good can come out of it for mental health.
Yeah, that's great. And well, a good idea and also a good cause. And hopefully you are going to be able to do it. But as you has mentioned, just enjoy your journey. Just the idea to swim the seven oceans is like, a travel around the world, but not only around the world, but visiting water places. So
Yeah,
that's and I think that's something amazing that we can anyone any swimmer can ever think of doing.
and that's the thing. It's such an amazing community, the open water swimming community, and I've just been blown away by all the kind messages since the English Channel swim, and there's a lot of people that have been very encouraging of what we're trying to do, and supportive of the purpose behind it, including yourself, Rose. So.
Yes, yes, I agree. And okay, so we are about the time. I would like to thank you, Andy, for your time, for your openness to talk about your journey in the English channel and the way you did it and the cause you are supporting. So just to close our interview, uh, this is a community, as you mentioned, an open water community. Um, we have in Latin American countries open water growing, Peru, Mexico, Chile, and other countries that follows Relatos de Alta Mar, and also in other European countries that can see it. So any words that you want to say to this community that also follow your swim? and also I think they are going to support your cause and your journey about the seven oceans.
Hmm. Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for all the kind words and support, and I think it's incredible the enthusiasm for open water swimming in South America. It's there's been real growth, and you've got some great role models there. Nora from Mexico, and you have the likes of Ana Marcela Cunha from Brazil, who are leading on the global stage, which is incredible to see. And what that tells me is that no matter where you're from, open water swimming and swimming is really accessible to anybody, and anyone can do it. Um, you know, I grew up in Scotland where there were only 450-meter pools in the entire country, and then before I swam the English Channel, there was a guy from Australia called Brendan Cullen who lives 500 kilometers from the nearest beach, and he swam the channel. So I think there's proof there that you know anyone can do these channel swims, anyone can do open water, and you know if there's a community behind it, it makes it even more accessible and encourages others to get into it. And I watched the interview with Jordan Leckie, um, who holds the record, and I agree. I think it would be good to try get some local swims set up. I think that's the starting point for building a community, an ocean swimming community. Well, actually, firstly, just trying to get people to go down on a regular basis. In Perth, Western Australia, there are groups that go out every day in the morning, just swimming along the coast, and that's where it begins and where you get community. And if you can even just get one swim a year somewhere, it might grow into something bigger. So, I mentioned in Perth we have the Rottnest Channel Swim. I think the first year that it ran, there was only 4 people that did it, and then it's grown every year since, and now there's 1,000 people that do it every year, and it is something.
Jarsim. Jarsim for behind, right? Very
That's
nice.
with the GoPro. So we had someone taking films on the boat, and every now and again he would have the GoPro and he would be leaning over, and I'd look up and be like, "What's going on?"
Very nice. Very nice. This is
And
very
then,
nice.
yeah, I think well, to the Latin American community, open water swimming community, gracias por su atención. Espero viajar a Sudamérica en el futuro. Los países son increíbles y es mi sueño para visitar ahí.
Yes, you are more than welcome to come here. We have beautiful beaches, lakes, lagoons to visit. Also in the jungle, we have the color of the water there. It's very very impressive, very nice. And also we have the Titicaca Lake here.
Mm.
We have beaches there also that where we can swim. The altitude is 3,450 meters over the sea level, and the temperature is about 9 degrees Celsius. But in summer, it is 12. But it's not needed to be 6 hours there, so not get scared.
Has,
It's
has
just
anyone swam across Lake Titicaca yet? Has anyone done it?
across, I think so. But recently there was a team friends, if I'm not mistaken, that swam in days from one side to the other, from one country to the other, because the Titicaca Lake has two countries that share the lake, Bolivia and Peru. So they cross across the lake, but in days, and with I think like a boat, but not a boat, but self carried. They
Yeah.
were it was like it was called the Titicaca Defi. So it was, yeah, something that they do. There are a lot of challenges to do there, and also beautiful places to know it there. I will share some pictures with you, so you may be aware. And when you complete your journey, you are pretty welcome to come. Also, we have here a competition that is like the top one in Peru, the largest one. It is called um, La Olaya. In English, it could be the Olaya path, the Olaya swim,
Mm-hmm.
which is swim 22 kilometers at 15 degrees Celsius. It goes from one beach to another. Um, and this is based on let's say a hero that we have here many years ago, was doing these swims without any protection, a lot of, you know, uh, planification or something, but to take messages um, from one side to another without being interviewed or being intercepted by it says the Corona Española, la Corona Española in that moment when Peru was fighting for their independence. But the
Uh,
fact is that, yeah, the fact is that this person was a fisherman that offer helps to the patriotas. It is called that in Spanish,
mm,
um, to carry messages that could be it could be intercepted in the land.
mm,
And the way that they decide to do that is by the sea, by the ocean, but swimming from one side to another. So that was like an heroism act,
mm.
and in honor to that hero, this competition take place. That is La Ruta Olé.
Yeah,
And it
excellent.
is, yeah, and it is like the 12th edition currently, and it takes part on February. And
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, we have in that challenges, like, because it could be the current when you get around Callao. Callao is you go from Chorrillos to Callao. So in Chorrillos, you can have a temperature like 16 degrees. And then when you hit Callao, you have islands, and the currents make some messy, and it's kind of difficult to enter.
Mm,
And also the temperature drops up to 15 or 14
right.
degrees Celsius. So it's kind of challenging because of that
Mm,
part. Yep.
mm.
And in the Titicaca Lake, we have a festival that is called uh, Festival de Nado at Chatuma Beach,
Yep.
which is also something that is located in Pomata, in Puno, in our Andes. And also, it's a very beautiful beach. Sometimes when we have time, can come on and to visit. Um, yeah, that's nice. Something I would like to share. I tell about this to all my friends in the upper water community worldwide. So sometimes one day they can come together and swim in that beach.
Well, I'll do my best to come across, but yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, that's well. For me, it's like the most beautiful place where I ever swim in the world.
Hmm.
It's cool, yep, but also the sunset is very beautiful. and you don't imagine that you are in the in a lake, because it could it 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 seems to be an ocean, because
It's
you don't
cool.
see the
It's,
other. Yeah, it's very extensive. You don't see the other shore. Yep.
mm.
Yep. Yep. And that's it. Okay, Andy, thank you very much. Um, it take a little more longer than I would expect, but I appreciate your time, your openness, and also we're glad that you are swimming your oceans devoted to this cause that is open water. So we're going to be from here doing, in Spanish is porras. Nosotros te vamos a echar porras desde acá, but also you can come with us. You have an open water community, a friend open water community here, and more than welcome if you need anything from us.
it's very kind of you, Rose, and thank you once again for having me on here. It's been really enjoyable chatting.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. And thank you all also to our friends who have followed this interview. And you are more than welcome to share this to our swimming friends and also to the whole world, because I think that it's important that the world get more in touch with these subjects. That not everything is about competing, but also supporting something that is beyond us. So, Andy, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks very much, Rose.
Bye bye. Thank you.